I'm Mike Brown and I'm running for Mayor at the upcoming council elections. I grew up in Zulmi on the north side of Brisbane with a single mum. She provided me with opportunities that other kids in my area didn't have. I got to travel to America, I got to work with the police, with the PCYC, and I had a great childhood. I moved up to the South Burnett to increase my career as a mechanic. I was just cleaning floors in Brisbane and I knew that if I moved to an area where they needed mechanics, I could do more. I then decided I didn't want to be a mechanic anymore and I tried to find work in the area and I couldn't find work. So I moved on to become a truck driver and I drove from Brisbane to Cairns until an accident occurred that stopped that. The whole time I was studying, I studied accountancy, I studied a degree in health industry management, and now I'm studying a grad certificate in development planning so that I can ensure that I do the best job for the community. I've lived in Brisbane and the South Burnett. I love the South Burnett. I don't want to move back to Brisbane. I love assisting the community. I have done so with the Glendon Street Medical Centre for the last 3.5 years. It's a passion and it's a job that I have not received any pay for. I've done that for the community. I would like to get in as council and as your mayor because I believe we need new leadership to direct us in the right direction for the South Burnett, and that's why I'm running for mayor. Well, I have Glendon Street Medical Centre, and through the practice I see 30 patients per doctor per day, so around 100 patients a day I get to see. And they're ratepayers, they're residents, they're people who have issues not only with their health, but they're there. They want to talk to someone and I listen. And they wanted to tell me more about council, and I learned a lot through them of their grief. So that put me in a position where I thought about it. I then decided to run because I felt the current council weren't being consultative enough with the community and that there was potential for improvement. So I said, well, I believe I've got the credentials, I should have a go. I personally am against a mine so close to town. I believe that the health aspects and the actual impact on our assets like the airport would be not worth the benefit that they provide as a mine. When we've already had a mine that's operating, it's something I don't believe is necessary, and I believe it will cause more harm than good. My ideas for bringing industry and innovation to this area, it won't come to us. We have to go to it. We have to find what's going to marry well with our country lifestyle and what we want to bring in with the community. It's a community consultation process as well as a business process, but we need a person who has business experience to go and talk to industries and try and attract them up to the South Burnett, selling all the assets, selling all the good points that they can utilise this area for, the advantages, the workforce, the cheap availability of industrial land, things like that. To boost this, we need to have innovative thinking. We need to think outside the square. Yes, we are an agricultural area. Yes, we have wineries. We have a lot of asset that it could bring potential business and employment to the area. What we need is somebody who can speak directly to those businesses in Brisbane and around Toowoomba that are finding those areas a bit clustered and crowded and bring them up here. We have an upheaval and a problem with things like Bow Desert and Beenleigh becoming inland ports, so we've got to try and attract something from that up to here. It's going to be difficult because they've already got it established and that's what they plan to do. What we need to do is make sure that the South Burnett doesn't get bypassed and that we get something in here that helps us. Ways we could do that is to improve our roads, the arteries to our heart. Get in and fix those roads to make sure that trucks or other vehicles can access it and that we keep our communities safe on them. Living in the South Burnett is the whole reason I moved here 14 years ago. I wanted to live in the country. I always did as a kid. I used to envy my friends who lived on farms and got to ride quad bikes and bikes around the farm and play in paddocks. Those sorts of things are the greatest things of lifestyle. When we first moved up here, the best thing about living in a country town was you could park right outside the front of the bank at any time of the day, and you'd get a park and you'd walk straight in and get served. Those sorts of aspects of life, this region has those aspects perfect. So I believe the best part of living rurally is the convenience and the freedom. Negatives with the South Burnett is the limitations we have put on ourselves with knocking back industries and businesses that we would really take a lot of benefit from. That stems from council's disapproval of some things. It comes from people not really wanting change, but I feel we're in a position right now, this election, people do want change. There's more people that have moved to the area now than ever before, and they are all wanting to make their life better. So improvements on just shops in particular would make it more so that we could keep our money in the district instead of travelling to Brisbane or Toowoomba or the Sunshine Coast. Well, I believe that all our tourism assets need to be treated the same way. If there's roads or there's parks or there's grass overgrown, if there's anything like that that needs to be addressed, council should do it. It's part of their asset to keep it. It's part of the best interest of the community to keep it clean, tidy, safe for everyone to visit. The Bunya Mountains is a beautiful place, so having a road that makes it accessible is only common sense. Being that it is a state road, it is something that the council would have to lobby for. You'd have to ask the state government to consider upgrading it, and I know they have in the past, but if we continue to ask them to do that, then there's only one answer that they can come to, and that's yes, we'll do it. Until this question was put to me, I did not know about the Nanango Weir. However, researching it, I think it's a good asset that we could look at reopening if it provided a safe environment for the community and visitors. It would make a great place to go canoeing, swimming, things like that, all the uses that it used to be used for, and then you could market it more. It's an asset that, if it was provided safely, could be, yes, reopened. The attractiveness of a rural area is its heritage, and its tourism market has got to be catered to allow safe travel. So roads that are arteries into the area have to be safe and smooth. Lobbying governments to get that to happen is another key issue. We need to also make it available to parking for caravans, for motorboats. So we need to apply that to the scenario and allow those people to come in and say, well, we've just driven 3 hours to get to, say, Kingaroy. We're almost at the dam, but we want to stock up before we get there. We need parking. So that's one way to make it more attractive. The friendliness of the towns. A lot of the towns across this region are so friendly, you just need to market that and tell them that they're welcome to stop anywhere they like and see anything and ask any local where to go, and they'll get a friendly answer. Cleanliness is another attractive point. If someone comes through a town and it looks dirty, looks grubby, looks outdated, they're just going to keep driving. It's not going to stop them for an interest. So I believe those elements all added together provide you with an attractiveness for people to spend money here. Top 5 destinations is far more than just 5. However, I would have to try and think about it and say the Bunya Mountains would be one, the dams would be another, the wineries across the region would be another, local restaurants that we have scattered all through that provide different menus, different types of food that are locally grown and locally made, perfect. And finally, to think of it, it would be our heritage and our peanut silos. Until this question was put to me, I didn't focus on the crime rates. It wasn't something that I went around looking for. I do recall when I moved up here, there was a police report put in the paper all the time, and a lot of the crimes reported in there were like jaywalking and things like that, and I found it quite amusing because I thought there's got to be more than that. Looking at the stats, I've noticed that the increase in crime has been documented. However, that could also be due to more police presence and more arrests. So as a council, we'd need to work together with Queensland Police and find out where they have issues that we could assist with and work with them. In my view, with the medical centre, I have seen people with problems with drugs that come into the surgery seeking them. We don't have that in our face all the time, so it's something that's under the sheets that we can't see, that we need to address anyway. Every community needs to support their people that have issues, and drugs are one big problem that have accessibility here. It's hard to police because unless you know who they are, you don't know where it is. It's something that every community has to deal with, and again, working with the police to assist in any way that the council can is important. Again, yes, I believe all communities have issues with domestic violence. We have seen an increase in cases because of police presence, but also because people are now stepping forward and saying they have an issue with domestic violence. As a child, I've witnessed it, and I don't believe it should ever be a part of anybody's psyche. If anyone has anything that they've seen or done, should report it and help those people out. The Women's Shelter does a perfect job to help people in this area, and we need to support them as a council. No, as a mayor, I will not allow you to pay for this private hospital. It's not a community hospital if it's private enterprise. And council running it, it doesn't make sense to me. The funds that will be required have been quoted at $30,000 a month loss. So therefore you've got to now fork out $360,000 a year to keep it open as a hospital. You also have to pay $300,000 quoted as maintenance cost per year. That's huge amounts of money. Where are they going to get that back from? Initially, patients will start using it, yes. However, over time, patients will start getting dwindled down. They won't be using the facility as much because there was never that need for it. There was never that full-on capacity of need for it. Otherwise, private enterprise would have been still operating it and still making a buck out of it. Our public health system is the thing that we need to upgrade far more than a private hospital at all. The private hospital actually hinders us lobbying state government to get us the upgrade that we need. We've just seen Roma get an upgrade. Now they have a population that's smaller than Kingaroy and has a demographic that they earn $10,000 per year more than our people do. Why on earth do they get an upgrade and we don't? Lobbying the state government and saying to them that just because we have an LNP in power and you're a Labor government does not mean that healthcare should be played politics with. We needed that upgrade, and because we have 2 hospitals in our book is the reason I believe we didn't get that upgrade, because we were told by Queensland Health that we're at the top of the list, and we were told that by Deb Frecklington when she was in power, and we were told that by Queensland Health just recently, that we're at the top of the list. So it surprised me when the government started spending $180 million that Kingaroy Hospital wasn't given an upgrade, because when they upgrade a public hospital, they include private beds. So we would have had the best of both worlds, and you as a ratepayer wouldn't have been put at risk of having to fund a private enterprise. If elected your mayor, I would work with the public hospital to try and get the upgrade that they need that's necessary to allow them to attract more surgeons and doctors to that area. Having a private hospital run by council, I don't believe we'll be able to attract those people back in a long-term capacity. Having an upgraded hospital would be a brand new facility that any surgeon would love to work in. It won't be that third world conditions that we've been told certain surgeons have said that it is up there now, and we'll be able to get those doctors in there. That would then reduce the number of care flight chopper transfers between hospitals that we currently see, which is about 80% of the care flight budget. So we would be able to slow that down and allow our doctors in our region and our healthcare to be strong enough to stand on its own, and even maybe take helicopter flights into the Kingaroy General Hospital to assist people that are out in our region. Mental health is big in this area. It's a big problem. It's not a council problem, but if elected as your mayor, I would work with health professionals and businesses and the state government and the Kingaroy General Hospital in any capacity I can to assist to bring more mental health services to this area, as I know how important it is. I think we have some issues with alcohol in our community, and it's across Australia. It's not just limited to the South Burnett. I believe that we have people who sometimes drink too much and have no mates to pull them into line and look after them. I think one thing that we could foster as a council is education and awareness of the effects of too much alcohol and the effects of life choices after mistakes made with alcohol. Council is not responsible for alcohol abuse or misuse or overconsumption. However, as a council, we are part of the community. We need to assist the community in any way possible. So for us to take on anything like that, we would need to work with professional entities that deal with alcohol abuse. We need to create a culture of too much. If your mates drink too much, look after them. Look after your mate. Don't allow them to do something silly that will affect the rest of their life. But that, again, is not a council issue, but we could, as council, help facilitate by giving, say, a hall for alcohol abuse victims to be able to come and have an education night. So those are the sorts of things that councils can do to help with alcohol abuse or alcohol overconsumption. However, it's not really a council issue. Again, as council, we're not responsible for domestic violence. However, we are responsible to the community to allow facilities to be available for services to support those victims and those affected by domestic violence. Domestic violence doesn't just affect the partner, it also affects children that witness it. So support services are available to them. However, have we got enough? That's not a council issue, but a council could assist by allowing facilities to be utilised that would help them deliver a care method to them. With a crisis, there has to be justification. Our council has got a lot of borrowings. It's about $60 million in borrowings, and that is not a good amount. We shouldn't have a huge amount like that. We've seen councils investigated for less debt than that. However, we have a balanced equation that we need to take into consideration, that if we still can pay off that 60 million debt, then we haven't got a crisis. However, in saying that, councils do have to have some debt, otherwise they're not providing you with more services, they're just providing you with basic services. So for us to have debt, it's healthy to have debt. It's just questionable whether we are in a crisis or not. And I have seen some evidence that points towards a potential crisis, but until I get into council and actually see what's in there and what we've got going on, I can't make comment on whether we're in a crisis or not. If elected as your mayor, I'd use my accounting degree to get council focused back on core business and making sure we're doing everything possible to be as efficient and as effective as possible. I believe that's the responsible thing to do as a council. If elected as your mayor, I would use my accounting degree and knowledge to ensure that council was more efficient. I think that you as a householder, you as a business owner, you would do the same. If your bills were getting too high, you would look at prioritising things so that you got better product value and better efficiency from your business, and council is the same thing. If elected as your mayor, transparency is the biggest thing that I've been saying that I want to see council get to. There are certain aspects of council business that don't allow transparency to begin with, but soon afterwards, soon as the deal has been done, transparency can be open to everybody. It's something that councils have to get used to. They have to be judged and accountable for their decision-making processes, and accountability and transparency go married in hand, and it should be part of council's business. Residents should know and should be satisfied with the answers that council give them where the money has been allocated. A road levy has to be spent on a road. That's why it's called a road levy. However, if you think that that's not going there, then you should have a transparency level that shows you exactly that is where it's going. Some people have put it to me that some of the road levy money has gone towards administration. Well, I don't believe that would be the case. However, until you get in and find out where the money's been spent, you could assume that as a person, as a ratepayer. However, you need to understand that the council aren't in the business of ripping you off. However, they need to be more efficient and show you and be explaining to you why and how things have occurred. If elected as your mayor, and with my accounting background, I know every business has a chance to make efficiency a part of their core business. The problem with councils is they do have restrictions put on them that do create a bit of waste. However, we can be more efficient in a lot of ways, and I think that a lot of those things that we could do haven't been done until now, and I believe as your elected mayor, I would do those things to make sure that every cent was spent as appropriately as possible to save you the heartache of having to pay more rates and road levies. If elected as your mayor, yes, we have to see it go. It is only there for a temporary purpose. It was served its purpose. Now, if council can't manage their funds, we need to look at other methods. We can't keep the levy, it has to go. I agree, it is a joke. I first moved to the South Burnett and lived on 10 Chain Road at Inverlaw. Again, 15 minutes from Kingaroy, same postcode as Kingaroy, but no waste collection services out there. We had to take our rubbish to the dump. That's fine, the dump was just down the road. However, your point is very valid. Farmers are paying multiple lots of rates for multiple land titles that they're using, and they're having roads to have access from cattle trucks or molasses trucks or hay deliveries, that those roads are inaccessible and they're paying the most amount of rates. I feel that the road levy itself is actually an unfair levy due to that reason, because those farmers are paying it multiple times and seeing no benefit from it. And we have people who are paying it who are getting benefit from it in bitumen roads. These roads are important. Again, if a farmer can't get his cattle fed or his farmer can't get his produce off the land, then what's the chance? He's got no chance. The problem is roads need to be prioritised and fixed accordingly. Council should be doing this now. It's 2016 and we've sent councillors and engineers and managers overseas to learn how to do roads better. What have they learned? Bring it back and apply it. That's what we need to do. You as the ratepayer should be saying that to them and saying, we want to see the roads better. What have you learned and how can we do it better? Parking problems in our regional towns are not necessarily a bad thing. It means the businesses may be doing a really good job at what they're doing and they're busy. However, I don't see there's been a parking problem. I've experienced myself, anytime I want to go somewhere, I can get a park pretty much within walking distance of the shop that I need or the bank that I need. If there is a parking problem and there's constituents and ratepayers that are saying that there is a problem, then council's role would be to communicate with that problem with those business owners and find ways that we can find a solution that benefits the whole community. The thing about the Nanango streetscape, people were complaining they took away their parking, but they have the parking, it's just not exactly where it used to be. It's not in the front of the building where they would like to be parked. Is that a good or a bad thing? It doesn't bother me to walk around the corner, but an older person might find it harder. So these are the situations that council needs to be aware of before they make any huge decisions on where to put a car park and how to put a car park. I believe we actually need some car parks around, especially the shopping centres, that have double parks to allow caravanners to stop. Because if a caravaner can't stop in a car park, they'll just keep driving. They won't come back and spend money. So it's a smart idea to cater to those types of parking issues. And it's also an issue, if people are saying there's an issue, then we need to address it as a council. With roads, there's different roads. There's federal, state and local roads. If you're talking about your residential block, It's always the same across any council. Brisbane Council's the same. You as a homeowner generally maintain the actual roadside between your property boundary and the guttering. That's what we all understand and we all accept. However, when you turn to a state road, the state government pays the council 4 to 5 times a year to maintain clear visible road so that when you drive around it's safe. However, that may not be enough, so it'll be up to council to lobby for more funding to do it more often. Now, obviously during drought times, grass doesn't grow as quickly, so therefore it may not be needed. However, during rain periods, we can notice the grass can grow within a week and it's back up to the same length where it was. So council's responsibility is to ensure that the ratepayers feel that they're getting a good deal and that the council gets the right funding necessary to maintain other roads that are not council responsibility. So when should council do it? They should do it immediately. If the ratepayers are unhappy about it and they're not clear on it, council should be clear with their explanation on how it works and be honest. That's the only way that council can do it. From what I've heard from candidates who are running, who are in council, should know what the budget is. I believe it's 4 million allocated from general rates and 3 million from the road levy. Now there has to be other funding like the federal assistance grants funding, which I think provides around 1.5 million. Now I don't know if that's included in the 4 million that the council have allocated, but I believe that council should be allocating far more of our ratepayer money into roads, as it's the major part of core business of council. Roads, waste, water supplies, things like that. So if it's such a large section of it, then more money should be allocated to it and it should be focused on core business. When council allocates their money from their budget for funding, a lot of the funding that's given to them from federal grants has to be allocated to certain things like maintenance or capital works. Now, if you read the budget from council or you read any minutes from council, you will have an indication on how much is spent which way. However, what's not clear to the general ratepayers, if they haven't looked at that, is that the funding allocated has to be spent on that particular purpose. Now, we need a transparent council that will explain that on a micro level to any ratepayer that wants to know it. So that means we have to get it right. Therefore, funding that comes in has to be allocated appropriately. I wouldn't know the full percentage of outsourced council maintenance or roads or capital works. What I would say is I've seen a whole heap of roadworks, say in Blackbutt and in Kingaroy, where there's been road crews that are wearing council operating uniforms, and there's other subcontractors that would be doing work as well. Now, I don't think we should be doubling up unless there's a lack of experience, and if there's a lack of experience, we need to get our council workers who we're paying to actually get trained and be fully aware of what they need to do. Outsourcing is actually probably better for council because it's more efficient and it's more cost effective. However, if we've got council workers that we've got standing around that aren't doing the work, but they're still there, then we need to be efficient with that. If they're there on a road job and there's something that has to be done, do it. It might not be part of the actual project, it might not be part of the road, but they could be cleaning the side of the road, they could be mowing beside the road, they could be doing things. A lot of the times, and it's often misperceived, that council workers bludge. I don't believe they do bludge, and if they do, then they shouldn't be working for council. We need to get those workers working hard, and I know they do, and I know there's perception is that they don't. So let's turn that perception around, and if they're standing around, they can only be assumed to be bludging. If they're working, then they're working. Again, I wouldn't be fully aware of what percentages were done by council road crews and what percentages were done by subcontractors. However, what we would have to do as council is ensure we're not paying for double the amount of work to be done. We should be paying minimal. And if that means that we need to just stick a contractor on the job and let them do the job and maybe have only 1 or 2 helpers from council, then that's what we need to do. We need to utilise our council workers elsewhere. That's the only way we can be efficient. Better outcomes for residents comes from a priority of which funding needs to go where and how much. We need to do that on a basis of complete and utter transparency. You need to know the reasons why those allocations are there. Now, a lot of roads we don't know are bus runs. Now, they need to be prioritised because we're putting our kids in buses to be safe. We don't want them to be unsafe. So there is a key instance where you need to prioritise a road that's a bus run. There's also the fact that we mentioned before about farmers who are paying multiple times for this road levy, for multiple times for their rates. They deserve better access to their properties if they're paying the majority of funds towards it. So we need to do that. But we also need to make sure our roads and our arteries are clean and tidy, ready for the community to use, but also the visitors to the area and the tourism that we have. I find education vitally important. Without education, our society would not function. With rural areas, we often find the hard decisions made by families to send their kids to schools in bigger cities. That is a very hard choice to make. Now, if we had options like the CQU, which are limited in what they supply, but it's a good start, then we have a chance to keep those kids here, and even adults that want to learn as well. It's a good thing. I believe education is a great thing. I believe that we need more universities than CQU to come in and utilise our rural facilities to get education to our kids. Anything and everything in the power of council. I believe that we need to educate our kids here and not send them away. So what we need to do is utilise what we've got. We've got a huge TAFE facility out there that's being underutilised. So we need to work with the TAFE and council to find out how we can benefit from utilising it more. At the very least, a feasibility study should be done. I am a firm believer that council should be as efficient as possible, and if we do have the roof space and it is affordable for council to put solar panels on, it's a brilliant idea. We're working in those buildings all through the day when it's sunny. Why not utilise that if it's viable to do so? You can't do it though if it's going to cost millions of dollars to put those panels on there, and it's going to take so many years to get that back. We just don't have the funds available to do that right now. But it is definitely something we should look at to prioritise and look at seeing if that's going to be a cost saver in the long term for the financial position of council. Being that I'm not in council in the current situation, I wouldn't know what exactly land we have owned by council, but I do know there's industrial land, and if there's farming land or environmental land that's specifically parklands, I think working with the community, working with experts in the industries, and working with farmers and other beneficial businesses like enterprises or industry, using those lands is important. We need to make a generation of cash. If it's only a small amount, at least it's a small amount. If it's only enough to cover the vegetation clearing and the noxious weed clearing, then that's important as well. So I believe that farming land should be either looked at leasing or farm sharing, or utilising it in a way that the council can gain benefit from is a great idea. If it's environmental land, we need to definitely talk to the experts, definitely talk to those in the community who are passionate about the environment, and allowing them to contribute in any way that they know how with their expertise or their volunteer time. The South Burnett is blessed with so many volunteers, it's not funny. That needs to be utilised and worked well with council. Industrial land, of course, we would love an industrial person to come up and provide us with a brilliant facility that worked well with our country lifestyle. That's just not reality, but we need to be creative and innovative in ways of attracting that to our area. Definitely council and the region could do more in the renewable energy sector. Supporting alternative methods would be one way. But we need to work together on what we can do to help renewable energy. Coal is a source that we can't live with forever. It's a finite source, but we need to be able to live without it. And so one way to do that would be to foster any renewable energy. I stand at a point of respect, and it has to be done. I've been to some council meetings since I've announced I wanted to be the mayor, and I've not noticed any time where they've acknowledged the original landholders, and I believe that should be one of the first things done at a council meeting, then the prayer, and then we get into business. As with a lot of things with our constitution, we have not updated it for a long time, and I think that this particular issue, as I don't see it as an issue as functionality is, I see it as a wording issue that the constitution needs to be changed, and therefore I don't see a problem with it being changed, because we don't stop our people from voting on race or equality. We're very equal. We allow everyone their opinion and say. So I think it's an issue that is not a council issue, but it's a society issue, and if that needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. I think recognition is important, and I think that in our schools it's a good place to introduce it. I think that we definitely need to be more respectful to the original landholders and people that were here before the Europeans settled. And I think that, you know, it's a good valid point to raise, and I think we should support it. First of all, council should be acknowledging the original landholders, but they also should be engaging with the Aboriginal community. It's important to understand that culturally, we are a multicultural society, but we originally were inhabited by Aboriginals, so we need to acknowledge them and work with them. They are a very important part of our society in rural areas. They know the land, they're respectful of the land, and we need to learn that same respect and apply it as well. Council should use technology to its best advantage for most importantly efficiency reasons, but also communication reasons. We could do something like an app for a phone that could then provide people with road closures, people with information of their councillors, register of interest, things like that, be able to report to council very, very timely issues that we see as we all live in the area we live in. We all want to protect each other, we all want to look after each other. So technology is important. I think it's a great method of communication, and we need to enhance that and build on that. Again, it's using technology, it's being available to the people and listening to the people. So it's about getting everyone on the same page and allowing technology to embrace what we now consider. Most people have a phone on them, they have availability to the internet where they walk, as long as they're not in a black spot in the area, which we all can utilise that to communicate better. As a council, yes, we can lobby state and federal governments and telcos to say where the black spots are and where we need assistance. If we've got slow internet because we have infrastructure problems, then we need to address that issue with the higher levels of government and get funding for that. We are now moving into an information technology stage where internet and phone contact is vitally important. We can't have that let us down, especially in emergency situations where someone might be stuck on one side of a flooded river but can't get any help because they can't get that telecommunications through. So we need to do that because our businesses are selling to our local people, our visitors, but they're not getting enough. And there's an excellent way to sell things online through internet to be able to attract a market well outside our area. We now have an airport that's 2 hours away that can fly internationally, that we can get our produce and our products from our region to them to get it out to a world market. And that's going to help our businesses immensely. They're going to be financially able to expand and employ new people in the town, and it's just a brilliant idea to get into information technology up and to a standard where we can utilise it and benefit from it as a region. I do think we can get to a point where we're not using as much paper. I don't believe we can go to a complete paperless society. It's just not possible. We still need paper. What happens if there's an electricity blackout? We're then stuck, we can't work. So it's not going to be completely paperless, but we can do steps towards utilising paper far more efficiently, maybe not printing everything that that we do, just cut back. And that's something any business can do, any business, any home can do, is just decide whether we should print or not. And putting messages on the bottom of emails saying, please consider the environment when printing this email. It's one good thing that we can do, but there's a lot more that we can do. I'm running for council as an independent. I have no political affiliations, and I don't believe a local government or a mayor or a councillor should have political affiliations that are strong, because we have a current situation where federal government is LNP and state government is Labor, and we need to be able to get the best for our region. So we need to be able to communicate and not have a colour difference or a problem with governments above us. We need to work together. And local government, I don't believe there's any need for it. Well, I have an accounting degree, and I've had a business that I've run, and I've run as a manager multi-million-dollar businesses in transport and health. So I feel like I've got experience with business. I have education, I have a grad certificate in health industry management, and I'm currently now studying a grad certificate in development planning. So I have education, I have life experience, I've travelled outside the country, I've travelled inside the country, and I feel like all those experiences and my life experiences and things that I've overcome with adversity provide me with skills and tenacity and qualities that I can apply to the role of mayor that will assist the community as a whole. I don't believe that is a decision that the councillors can make when they get in anyway, but if it was a decision, I wouldn't do it. I don't believe in giving myself something before giving back to the community. So it's not something that I would do, and I don't believe it is something I can do, but I can assure you if it is a possibility to refuse it, I will. I believe that the role of mayor is a full-time job. It's not a clock-off job. You have to do it every single minute of the day that you are available to the community. You have to do it. Councillors as well need to apply a lot of time to this job. They're going to literally have to become full-time employees of the public. So I believe that the financial remuneration has to be fair, and I believe at the current levels, I don't hear many complaints from councillors. They are doing their job, and that's a fair amount. Obviously, if you want a good quality manager, you have to pay them more. However, for local government, I feel that the people that are in it aren't in it for money, they're in it for helping the community. So therefore, the remuneration is just a bonus, but helping the community is the actual goal. If there's a perceived corruption, the only way to stem that is to be transparent. There's no other thing you can do or say that will change someone's opinion if you're not telling them every single bit of detail that they want to know. If there is commercially confident information, you need to tell them that. You can't hide things from the public anymore. They are too savvy, they want to know everything, and if they don't know anything, then they'll make it up anyway. So you need to be sure that you are so transparent that you knock it on the head so that then corruption can be eliminated. There's the key, it's be inclusive. It's allow our multicultural society to integrate together and provide the benefits of learning other cultures. We can learn from other cultures. We can enjoy their benefits. So it's a matter of allowing that to be a process that occurs. Don't disinclude anyone at all. If they're multicultural and true multicultural, then we need to include everyone. It's council's responsibility to ensure that the safety of our community and our council is obtained. If they don't have them on their books, then I'm surprised, but we need somebody who's consulting the council and telling them where the problems exist, and we then need to listen to those problems and address them and improve them and make it safer for the whole community. I would lead by example. I would turn the culture around and say, it's not just about a rule that you have to follow, it's about saving your life. If you have an incident that could have been prevented and you didn't do anything about it and you knew about it, then you're at liability, you're at fault. And it's the behaviour you walk past is the behaviour you condone. So I don't condone people being blasé with health and safety, and I don't condone council doing that either. So the council would have to lead by example and put that from the top down to ensure that people are following the health and safety of the law, but also take responsibility and ensure that you are being safe and you're looking out for yourself, but not only yourself, everyone else around you.